We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast are at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest is Joe Templin. We have a lot to talk about today, and what we're going to be talking about is old patterning, old programming. How do we actually change the way we look at life? How do we choose to live a more positive life? He says every day we gather a little worse or a little better. It is the natural tendency, it is to decline. Yet if we invest a few minutes consistently every day, we can slowly and continuously improve human cancer and ultimately end up in a good place. Excellence is a habit. Habits need to be acted upon daily. Every day we have to fight the utopia of age, the creeping chaos of the world. Every day we must take the investment of time and energy just to maintain where we are and relax to inflation, progress, and our own dreams. If we invest just a bit more of ourselves, rather than that of the minimum, we can improve daily, slowly, polishing the jewel like it is. It is the little daily sacrifices and choices that compound over the years and decades to make us these priceless, sparkling, multifaceted works of nature and nurture. So today, make better choices. That's all we have to do. But this is what Joe is here for. How do we make better choices? Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you, Sarah. And as I was taught early in my career, it's simple, it's not necessarily easy to make those little choices that end up compounding and having the macro effects long term.
I always say that the biggest leap you'll take is the first step.
That is completely true. That's why Peter Thiel, the PayPal co-founder, named his first book 0 to 1, because that is an infinite growth. Getting off the couch to start training is more difficult than stretching from a half marathon to a marathon.
Yes. And that comes down to one word, choice.
Yeah.
I choose to get off the couch. I don't like where my life is anymore. If you don't like where you are, if you don't even like the choices you've been making, if this pattern feels like it's a constantly repetitive, then what are you going to do to change courses? And that means you need to make a choice that you're going to do something.
And Leo Buscaglia, I guess he's a philosopher or Zen practitioner, says that the output of all education is change. And so I don't know how many doctors who know smoking is bad for you, but continue to smoke 2 packs a day.
Yes.
I don't know how many business coaches claim to know how to, get you to a 6-figure income in 6 months, and yet the only way they're making money is by selling something over and over again that they're not even doing.
Right.
So it is being able to take the action that creates the change. And motivation, the root of it is motive. Move.
Yes.
And so we need to just start, even if we're going in the wrong direction, even if what we're doing is not going to be effective, it's still taking those first couple of steps, because then we can take corrective action on our path to be going in a better direction. But we need to overcome the inertia and, as we say, get off the couch.
I always say activism is wonderful, but actionism is where you need to be. We're talking about it, we're rallying about it, but when are we going to take action about it?
And the big thing about it is the consistency. I know people who are building a business who for one day put on their Superman suit. And they just go absolutely bonkers and they do everything right and they do it at an incredibly high level. And then they're persona non grata for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
month. They basically disappear. And it's like, that's like going to the weight room, lifting to the point of failure one day, and then not showing up for another month. You're not going to get improvements. I would rather see somebody do something every single day for 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, because then you're establishing the habit and you're building the momentum. So you're changing also your identity from somebody who doesn't do it to somebody who does do the right things, where it's being a runner, or somebody who writes every single day, because that's what writers do, or somebody who eats healthy. It's the consistency from it that changes the identity. And then you can always ramp it up. You can go
Yeah.
from working out 10 minutes a day to 15 to 30 to an hour a day over a several month period. But if you're not doing it 5 days, 6 days a week minimum, you're not going to get the habit. You're not going to get the mindset of it. And so you won't make the fundamental internal changes, which are necessary to have the long term.
Yeah. Old programming and old patterning is something we're caught up in. If you want to change the pattern, create a new pattern and a new program to go to. And no, it isn't putting your foot to the pedal. When we get into a car, we go from neutral to first gear, second gear, third, fourth gear as we gather momentum. If we got straight up into fourth gear, we'd be kind of leaving ourselves at the back of the car. So,
or if we slam on the brake to try and
yes,
stop something, you're going through the windshield.
right,
And
exactly.
that's not good either.
No, so the thing is it is that one step at a time. It is making a habit out of something good. We are habitual creatures. We love patterning. We love programming. We love a certain amount of stuff that we know is going to be every day. Getting
Well,
up,
we
brushing our
do that
teeth.
because the brain is an energy hog. Our
Mm-hmm.
brain, even though it only makes up like 5% of our mass, uses over 25% of our energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the human brain is designed to go into energy saver mode at wherever possible, to rely upon heuristics or rules of thumb that allow us to just go on autopilot once we've figured stuff out for the most part. And those patterns that we get stuck in may work in a certain situation, but the world evolves.
Yes.
What works well for you at 23 years old as a
Mm-hmm.
single person does not work well at 33 when you're married and have 2 kids.
Exactly. Exactly. So that means adjustment. Yes, you can have a consistent pattern, but then you're going to be tweaking and adjusting that pattern that's going to work for you in your current situation. And I think this is where also people get stuck. It's like, well, why doesn't it work anymore? Well, you're not in the same groove as you were before, right? So you have to adjust to what is going on or going on within you, and adjust accordingly. The reason we get overwhelmed is because we don't know how to adjust. We don't know how to change course. And changing course doesn't mean you're leaving everything that you've built as a consistent behind. It's just changing that consistency to a new pattern that's going to serve you better. Why do we get upset about it?
You're going to have to make changes. So the question is, do you make micro changes on a daily basis where you're aware and you're making just tiny changes that are almost not noticeable? I work out slightly harder on this. I, eat slightly healthier. I change my attitude a little bit. I am slightly more grateful. I avoid exposure to things that I know trigger me or make me make negative decisions. Or do you wait 6 months, 10 months, 2 years and have to make major changes?
Right. Yes.
So
or
you're
have
going
the
to have to make
cosmic two
those
before.
changes or else you're going to die.
Yeah.
So might as well make the tiny ones
yes.
that are barely
Noticing.
feelable,
Yes.
as opposed to the giant ones, which are almost always immensely painful.
The other thing is, I think, stop chasing an illusion on the outside. You want that change. You want to live a happier life. You want a more meaningful life. You want a more productive life. All the change lies within you. You've got to be the change you seek. You've got to be the peace that you seek in the world. You've got to be a solution to the world. And one of the things that you've really got to do is participate in your own life.
People who don't want to change won't change.
No.
So, I've got a friend who's struggling with addiction and she sees no problem with it. Because everybody else in her life enables it. So she has no incentive to change until everything's changed around her so much that it's going to be incredibly painful.
Right.
So, but as it stands now, she's, getting the constant endorphin rush and everything that she wants. So she's going to keep doing what she's doing until literally the world probably ends for her.
Yes. Well, I call
So
it.
same thing, people keep eating the cheeseburgers until suddenly
Yes.
they have the heart attack.
Yeah.
And we're
And
recording this
what's
on
mind
National
blowing, they'll
Donut
go.
Day, so I actually ate 6 donuts today. But that's my cheat day for the entire month. And I worked out for an hour and a half this morning.
Right.
And I'll work out for an hour tonight. And then I won't touch another donut for 6 weeks.
The thing is this: if we live our life on expectation, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, you're living your life on such a stress level. And then you feel guilty because you haven't lived your life. You haven't met that goal. You haven't met that goal. And it's like, chill out, take a breath.
Yep.
Right? You didn't get what you wanted to get done today. Yeah, you had that piece of cake you said you wouldn't have. For God's sake, let go of the guilt. Let go of the guilt. Just work a little harder tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow.
Right. And
all
remember
vegetables.
it.
Yes.
So here's the thing, and people create a lot of their own issues.
Mm-hmm.
So you brought up the idea of stress. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is the counter to that, which is eustress as opposed to distress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stress is typically when it's externally imposed.
Yes.
Your boss gives you a deadline. Your kids, get thrown out of school because they're being hooligans. Yes, I've had that happen multiple times.
Been there, done that.
There's financial constraints, or there's a time constraint planning something that you weren't planning on doing, and so you feel out of control. And what happens is your cortisol levels go out of control, which unnaturally ages you. You accelerate your aging the more stressed out that you are. So one of the things that we talk about is how to lower cortisol levels, manage that stress, whether it's music, exercise, using various body positioning, like doing the Superman or the Wonder Woman or things like that for a couple months, which reduce your cortisol. Healthier eating is always a very good one. But the as important thing is balancing it with eustress, trying to achieve that state of flow. And eustress typically comes because you are doing it not because it's externally imposed upon you, but it's internally generated, something that you want to do. So, for example, I am training for my next rank in martial arts. So there's nobody yelling at me to go down into the dungeon and work out at 4:30 in the morning, but I get up and I do it. Why? Because it's something that I want. It's something that's driving me. And so
it's your own personal challenge.
Yes, it's a personal challenge. It's something that I'm doing for me.
Yes.
And so it drives me, it's almost like a calling in some ways. And that, even though I was exhausted, didn't want to do it, I got up and I did it. It's this thing, I'm preparing for another ultra marathon down the road. I'm getting back from a bunch of injuries because I broke my leg earlier this year. And so if I had a drill sergeant yelling at me to run, it would not be fun at all. It would be stressful. But when I yell at myself to run, because it is so that I can get a stupid zombie hamster belt buckle from doing this race, which will be really cool, right? It's a completely different feel. So when you're working on the edge or just beyond the edge of your capabilities, if it's being externally forced upon you by a boss or a partner or some other, external entity, that's when we get stressed out. But when it's coming from internal, from desire, that's actually where you achieve your state of flow and you have your maximum performance and your best growth as an individual.
Yeah,
So it is discovering those things that light your fire, that really get you going, and then trying to be able to tie those into the things that you have to do.
right. It's rather like, instead of the feeling like the external bullying, it's the internal motivation.
Yes.
So the external bullying, I still don't know anybody that benefits from that. And yet, as human beings, we love to yell at other people and demand something from them because we think it's for their good.
The only time I've seen it work is in extreme situations. So if somebody is like 400 pounds overweight, and if they don't lose a lot, they're going to die, then yes, yelling makes sense. If, the kid does not do their stuff that they have to and is going to, go to flunk out, or somebody's going to go to jail if they don't, take care of these things, yes, sometimes you need the external paternal.
But that's not bullying.
Father.
That is kind of exterior importance. This is important.
Yeah,
as opposed to you got to do this because I tell you to. It's a different tone. It's a different message. Yeah.
Somebody else yelling at you because it is for your own best interest.
Yeah.
And they are tough love. That works.
Yeah.
And yes, they still hate us for a little while.
Yeah.
Over time, they're like, you're right. So I tell my dad, you know what? When I was 17, you were right. And he's like, thank you. It only took you 30 years to admit that. But,
it's only when the kids have their own kids do they recognize what a parent is.
I look up to heaven and I say, Mom, I'm so sorry. Please remove the curse of having just like I was.
I know. I mean, my gray hairs have my children's names on it. But I think it is. Let's look at the word expectation. I think if you can put an expectation on yourself, I'm going to do the very best for me, that I deem is the best for me, moment to moment. And not, I'm going to put an expectation on me that I'm going to be at this level and everyone is going to regard me because I'm there. Because that will never be met. Never be met. If you're looking for somebody external approval, you are in for a disappointment. But if you're looking for the internal approval of, you know what, you did well today, you did more than you expected to do, right? Or on another day,
I did what I needed to do to be where I want to be down the road.
Yes.
Matthew McConaughey, I love this thing. He talks about in his book Green Lights. Was asked when he was relatively young, like in late teens, early 20s, who his hero was. He's like, can I get back down? Let me think about it. And came back to the guy a week later. He's like, my hero is me in 10 years.
Somebody I can look up to.
and so he would make choices, literally asking himself, will future me be proud of this decision or not? And
that's a really good approach to make, really.
Yeah. And
you're always looking at rising higher, being the better version of yourself. And it's very much like the
Ernest Hemingway idea of not comparing yourself to others, but to yourself of yesterday. Yes. So are you better today than you were yesterday?
Yes.
He had put this big goal out there of 10 years. And 10 years later, the same person asked him, so are you your hero now? And he's like, no, my hero now is me 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And so having that moving target is one of the things, so that, you're not going to achieve it and then have your postpartum depression or post-race depression, as we see with runners. Or Kobe Bryant said that the most depressed he ever was the day after he won his first NBA title. Because he had achieved everything he had wanted at that point.
Where was the next goal?
His goal to be the best he could be. And then he won another 3 championships.
Right.
So having that moving target of excellence, that is self-developed, because you are developing yourself, but also it is your goal, not an externally imposed goal. You have your emotional buy-in to it. And so you're literally pouring your heart and soul into achieving and becoming that over time, and will never fully achieve it. But if you go about things in that manner, you're going to minimize the regrets, because you are always working towards becoming the best version of yourself possible.
Yeah. And, I don't want it to be something you strive for. It's something you thrive for. because
Hmm.
you should be growing all the time. It shouldn't be a struggle. And anytime you get stuck and you think, oh gosh, I just don't know how to move on, it's look back. Look how strong you've become. Look how courageous you've become. Look at the abilities that you've learned. Look at where you are today compared with.
Yeah.
You're just
And
having a pause. That's all. You're having a pause.
so you know what muscles get stronger in the pause after the workout, not the
Yeah.
effort. It's when
Yeah.
you sleep that night and they rebuild themselves. And even on a horrible days, like I had a really bad day the other day, all my friends remind me, you've got 100% track record of making it through bad days.
Yes.
So today might suck. Guess what? You'll get through it. And
And
then
maybe
tomorrow's another
it's
page in the book.
yeah, but maybe it's a day of little self-love and attention. Maybe this is the day the
Yes.
arms need to be around you. You just need to be having a beautiful nothingness day of self. Just love yourself. If it's watch TV and eat donuts all day, so be it. Don't beat yourself up. Don't have any expectations. This is just a blah day, and I'm just
Yep.
going to go with it.
And if you have some minimum expectations of what you need to do
Yeah.
every day, if you do something so that you avoid a goose egg, then you can say, all right, I'm still keeping my streak. Today was not a great day, but it was still, I met my minimum, self expectation. So I got up, I did my 100 punches each hand, or I wrote 3 pages, or whatever it is that I'm going to do every day, because that's my identity, my self identity as a martial artist or as a writer or as what have you. Then you can keep going forward and say, look, even though yesterday was a horrible, very bad, no good day, I still at least kept it neutral for the day or moved forward. And so even on my worst days, I was still making at least the tiniest amount of progress in some capacity.
I'm going to switch to another view of that, because I sometimes think the nothingness days are very beneficial to us.
Mm-hmm.
They are that pause. They are that don't mindlessly go on and do for the sake of doing. This is a day of just absolutely nothing, even being in silence, switching off to the world and allowing the universe to speak to you, through you. Because sometimes we're so busy doing, we're not pausing enough to allow information or direction to come through us.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that having those moments of silence, those moments of nothingness, this is like, I just can't write today. I just can't do this day. It's not in me. And that is okay to have that nothingness
And I'm
day.
going to completely disagree. And this comes about from my mindset as an endurance athlete. So, Stephen King, who I think is vaguely successful as a writer, says that, a professional shows up even when they don't want to. So I'm not saying that, on those days when you have nothing, you try and give everything still. But if you still get up and get out of bed,
Oh, yeah.
you still, sit down at your computer and write for a couple of minutes, even if it sucks and you throw away 90% of it. I've had that happen way too often, actually. But you're still going through and getting the repetitions in some capacity, even if they're not great, even if most of what you do in that time is not good, there still might be a couple of little pearls. There might be a couple of scraps that you can reuse. And I'm not saying go and put in a 20-hour day with it. If your base expectation of I'm going to work out for 20 minutes every single day, that's 20 minutes out of 24 hours. The entire rest of your day can suck then. Or if you're going to sit down, you're going to write for 10 minutes, that's 10 minutes out or 600 seconds of 84,600. So the other 84,000, okay, you can use them to rest and recover. But doing at least the minimal viable for your expectation. My expectation for me is different than, like my 11-year-old kid. My 11-year-old kid, he's like, "Hi, I got out of bed and, I ate." Okay, that's acceptable. You're 11. Okay. Yeah, but for me, that's not acceptable. I need to I've got about a half hour morning routine of stuff that I do, whether it's reading, doing some martial arts, writing for a little bit, um, being grateful, a couple of things like that. It's about a half hour that I do every single morning. So even if the rest of my day is horrible, car engine blows up, all sorts of crap with the attorneys, stuff like that, I still can say, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
I accomplished that. And even if 95% of that writing I want to throw in the trash, if there's a good sentence in there, I can take that and build something in the future off of it.
I have found, but I'm not an athlete, so I don't think in an athletic type mind. And I'm a more creative. And so I find actually those days of just removing myself is actually there's a subliminal creative force that is regathering. And then when I do come back, it just floods right out.
Do you want to talk about the neurobiology around that? Actually?
Yes, do.
So one of the things that I've been studying this is that the brain just gets so hyperactive, and we have so many neurons firing and everything, that we get overwhelmed in the noise.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking like a scientist, we want to try and find the signal in the noise. And when we have quiet meditation, whether it's music, which was Einstein's favorite, or going to a peaceful environment, meditation, relaxation of different forms. This is one of the reasons why people go on vacation, to remove themselves from the situation in a lot of ways. This is why people go to the mountains or go sailing and go to the beach or things like this. What it does is, by removing a lot of these other external stimuli, it reduces the total brain activity. And the most creative components come from parts of the brain that typically get overwhelmed with the other activity. And so you can actually listen, you can hear yourself think.
Right.
When you unplug like that.
Yes.
And so that's when those intuitive moments come about. So taking the time to eliminate the external stimuli like that is actually a very active way to go about the self-care, or to unlock the secrets that are hidden within the mind. So for some of us, I do that with martial arts and running.
Right.
So mine's active meditation as opposed to passive meditation that some other people have, or the quiet removal of the stimuli, like going to the beach, like deplugging from society, things like that, like just staying in bed. So they're all different approaches that on a fundamental level are doing some of the same things. So the big thing that people need to figure out here, Sarah, is what works for them.
Exactly. You got to know yourself, and you're not going to know yourself unless you spend time with yourself. And I don't mean the external pressures upon yourself, but the internal chemistry of yourself. What personality trait are you? How do you receive information? How do you interact with other people? What is your calm space? What is your stimuli? What is your driving force? What is your mission? What is your why?
This metacognitive awareness,
right,
that, as Sun Tzu talked about in The Art of War, he who knows his enemy and himself will always be victorious. So taking the time to look at yourself and say, why did I do that? Why did this help? Why did this not work? And this is one of the big differences between being 18 years old and being middle-aged, is hopefully by the time you reach middle age, because of the physical decline, you have understood and realized this. This is one of the reasons why pitchers in baseball, as they lose their fastball, if they've learned to actually pitch, they're developing secondary pitches, and they become pitchers as opposed to throwers. So instead of just throwing the ball at 100 miles an hour down the middle of the plate, they're hitting the corners, they're using off speed, they're using deception, things like that. It's because they're understanding the batters better, and they're understanding their capabilities. So if we apply these same thoughts to ourselves, the same process, then we can understand who we are, how we learn, how we function, and be able to apply those to help us be able to get more of whatever we are trying to get out of ourselves.
I recently saw Kurt Browning, the ice skater. He's had cancer. He's 55, and he's, of course, no longer doing those big jumps and those big things that he used to
Nope.
do. But there is an artistry about him now that is absolutely beautiful. Just even a simple movement to the music, it's intoxicating. And that is maturity. That is what we grow into. It's like, oh God, I wish I had the same speed when I was young. Well, that was the expressive of the youth. When you are
Yes.
mature, don't be afraid to express your maturity. It comes out in your form of artistry. Of everything that you've learned through life, and you are going to express it in a different way, a slower way, a more meaningful way, a more artistic way. And that's okay. Please never compare yourself to who you used to be. It is who you are now through all the life experiences that you've had, what you like about yourself and what you want to keep that momentum going because it's working for you.
Right. And you
Right.
said, portrait,
Mm-hmm.
so whatever media we're using, whatever sort of canvas, whether you're a poet or you're a painter or you're a parent or gardener or
Mm-hmm.
musician, your way of expressing who you are will develop over time. And hopefully, you as a person are fully developing. And that comes
Yes.
about from working on yourself
Mm-hmm.
on a consistent basis. I mean,
Daily
my
by day.
friends who are, successful musicians, they practice every single day.
Yes.
That's what they do. So if we look at ourselves as the sculptor and the clay, we
Mm-hmm.
should be working on ourselves every single day. I tell people that they should spend 5% of their time on their mind, their body, and their spirit every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 5% of their time is roughly an hour. Okay. And you can multitask this. So
Mm-hmm.
I will listen to a podcast while I'm running because, just going and running for an hour is really boring. But, so this way I'm feeding my mind. I
Yes.
can be feeding my spirit while I'm also taking care of my body. Listen to a podcast while you're doing the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
While you're taking that phone conference, walk around
Mm-hmm.
instead of be sitting on your butt. You can squeeze in an extra 1,000 steps a day doing that. That doesn't sound like a lot, but over a month, that's the difference of a loss of 1 pound of fat.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that basically is sufficient to overcome the natural decline that people have once they turn 40-ish years old. So
Yes.
just take your phone conferences while walking,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be more invigorated. You'll feel better. You're going to feel better. It actually has measurable differences to your blood sugar levels and all these other
Yeah.
things. And you won't even notice it, basically. After the first few times that you do it, you'll be like, oh, wow.
Well,
I did this.
nothing becomes a chore when it becomes a pleasure. You know,
Yeah,
so if you make it pleasurable, if you're going to go walking, go walking somewhere where you know aesthetically pleases you, right? If you go
if you
into
can. I
if
mean,
you
if you're
can.
stuck in your office because
Mm-hmm.
you're on a phone conference, you know what? Might as well, if you're listening to the boss go rattle on like the adults from Charlie Brown, might as well walk around and get some benefit from it.
Yeah, there's always a way, right? And I think it's like the ABCs of what you have to do today. This is what you have to do. How you're going to do it, you can be flexible on and creative on, right? And
Right.
it's as you said, you can take a phone call while you're going up the stairs to the 10th floor. You might sound a bit puffed
Try
out
and
by the end of
gamify
it.
things. This is something that they discovered in education a while ago, and I'm actually upset that they haven't done more of it within the school systems. Is if you turn things into a game,
Mm.
kids want to learn. And when I say kids, that includes 45-year-olds.
Oh yeah, we all.
Okay,
If we're not learning, we're not living.
exactly. But if we make it fun to learn, it's even better.
Yes.
So, like if somebody is doing something at work. Let's say that's in retail sales. Here's a great example. They have contests all the time. So the local convenience store chain throughout my area, they compete against all the different stores, and
Hmm.
they'll have like 1 week it's whoever sells the most cookies, and the next week it's whoever sells the most hand-packed pints. And so there's little prizes involved in it for them, but they're trying and they're more focused on this. And so I've used this with motivation with people that I've coached, is we find some way to either give them a reward. So, hey,
Hmm.
if you pick up the phone 50 times this week, I'll buy you a 4-pack of Guinness. Or, if you do X certain number of times, then, you should go out for ice cream with your kids and
It's
tell
a
your kids
perk.
about it
It's a perk,
so
right?
that they keep asking you and reinforce it.
Yes. I remember I was at boarding school, and it was an old squire's house and moors all around us. This was in England. And we would go out for this Sunday walk. And where are we going to walk, miss? And we're going to walk all the way over there. And oh my God, that's so far. But we had a different teacher who said, we're just going to walk and investigate those trees over there. Oh, let's go and see what's over there.
Huh?
Let's go see what's over here. Next thing you know, we're home,
Yeah.
right?
And
I
you
mean,
didn't even notice it.
didn't even notice, and we learned things, and we're excited about learning things along the way. Break it down, have an incentive, reward yourself, and come away with thinking that was so cool instead of that was such a drudge,
Yeah.
right?
And so you're looking to see when that teacher is going to be around next so you
Yes,
can go on out and do it
yes,
again.
yes,
And having some consistency around that then creates the habits. And if you had that teacher every day do that with you for a month, guess what? Every one of you and your mates would have been ready to be like, all right, let's go, let's go, let's go.
yeah,
And you'd be looking forward to it as opposed to it being a chore. Now, if you can take that same concept and apply it to things within work or cleaning your house
yeah,
or what have you. So, like dancing while cleaning the house, put on some bad 1980s music and dance like nobody's watching and hope your kids don't see you, is one of the ways to actually get the unpleasant task done by making it pleasant.
I actually got the kids to dance with me. We are the champions, or we do something else, and it's like, you know, uh, ask them to do a chore they don't want to, get out the dusters and put on some crazy music and everybody go along with it. When we make things fun and less of a duty,
Yeah.
then it's, are we going to do it again? Yeah, we're going to do it again.
And
And
that
then,
comes back to our external
yeah,
imposition versus internal desire.
yes, exactly. We seek out fun in life, and because that's our natures, is life should be enjoyable. And now so much in the media, and 79% of, I believe, of Americans at the present moment, are just really have had it right now. They're feeling saturated with bad news and misery and just aren't looking forward to living, because that's
Yeah.
all they're getting all the time. And my argument is, if we actually shed the light on the people that are living in joy, that are living in kindness, that are really stepping up and helping other people to be more abundant in their own lives, and if we focused on that, 20% of every news channel, right? 20% of it every single day consistently, we're going to change the mindsets of the people saying, but they're having fun. I want to be over
Yeah.
there. What do I have to
Well,
do
one
to
of the
be over
big
there?
things, the people who are having more fun, you know what they do? They don't pay attention to the negativity.
Yeah.
90+% of the news is negative,
Yes.
and guess what? It'll be completely different in 4 days. It has no relevance.
No.
So turn it off.
Hmm.
Okay. The extent of my news consumption is about 2 to 3 minutes on the computer every single day. What pops up, on the various home screens and stuff like that. Napoleon would not open his mail for 3 weeks
Hmm.
because he knew that most of it was just the equivalent of social media and tweets and
Mm.
stuff like that. And so it would just blow over and it was not really relevant. So go on a news diet because the
Mm.
news is so bad. And one thing my Taekwondo master taught me years ago is we dig our grave with our teeth.
Hmm.
Okay. And it's not just the food that we're eating physically, it's our mental food that we're taking in.
Yes.
And we're taking in so much negativity if we just stop. It's like people are eating Twinkies all day long. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's mental Twinkies. And they're
Yes.
wondering why they're distracted, why they can't focus on things, why they don't have the mental bandwidth for things. It's because you're filling your head with useless crap.
And why do we get dis-ease in the mind, body, and soul? And that leads to disease. Is that
Exactly.
because all that negativity and that misery breaks everything down? We are designed to always be inquisitive and creative. We are designed to always look at solutions. We are designed to be a part of a team, to be a part of a community, and to bring joy to it. We're designed to that. But
Yeah.
somehow we've been molded to be the killers, to be the miseries, to be the greedy, to be the me, myself, and I narcissists.
Yeah.
And I think that is more of a creation of what we've created ourselves to be against our actual nature, which is to be a part of community and build as much abundance as we can.
And so one of the things that we're doing is we're allowing that inside our brain.
Mm,
It's basically um, we're feeding that because, as you were just saying, all these patterns, we are designed for pattern recognition. That's how we can see, oh, that's a saber-toothed tiger. It's going to try and eat me. I need to stay away.
yeah.
And things like that. And we're designed to focus on the new and the changing and the loud because that's typically the dangerous things. And that's what, society's been built around, whether it's social media or news media or the entertainment or what have you. And so being able to essentially put on mufflers in
Mm.
a lot of ways, put on your headphones and just focus on your work.
Do the
There's a
kid thing.
reason.
La la la
Yeah,
la 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 la.
yeah. It's the reason why, the Buddhist monks and, the Shaolin monks would basically be in a dark temple with a couple of candles for minimal light to focus on their training and ignore the external world.
Yeah, there was
It's the
one
reason why
monk.
the hermit goes to the cave.
Yeah, but there's one monk that I've interviewed, Michel Pascal. He takes people into Times Square at its busiest and shows them how to be still and be the mountain amongst the chaos. Because that's really what we need to learn to be is how can we be calm amongst the chaos around us and not get caught in the hurricane?
And that comes back to the effort meditation that I was talking about. So it takes a lot of training to ignore all that noise and all
Yeah.
that. But if you just completely remove it, it's a lot easier.
Hmm.
Same way, it takes discipline to not eat the donuts and the junk food if they're in the house.
Yeah.
But if they're not in the house, it doesn't take any discipline.
Right.
And so
Yes.
it's easier, less energy requirement. And so you can take that energy that you're going to spend on saying no to the things you want, just remove the temptation, and you can take that energy and actually build and grow.
It
So
was
it's a
these
different way of getting there. And as the Buddhists say, many roads lead to the mountaintop.
exactly.
Comes back to what works for you.
And it is what you seed, what you water, what you nurture is what's going to grow. So
Yeah.
what in your hand, what kind of seeds are you planting? Right? And it's what are you feeding? What are you doing to nurture it, to help it grow? Because if you're not participating in that, if you're not helping that growth, then how are you going to reap the harvest?
And who is around you feeding it? Because you know the theory that you become like your five closest friends. If your
Yes.
five closest friends are,
Misery
alcoholics,
moves. Yes. Yeah.
guess what? You're going to be drinking all the time.
Hmm.
If your five closest friends are ultra runners, guess what? You're probably out running
Hmm.
and staying out of trouble. So my closest friends are all like PhDs and successful business owners, and they're always on me about what they're doing and come on Slacker and all that. And so it
You,
helps inspire me and lift me up.
you support one another, you encourage one another,
But if your
and you
five closest
celebrate one
friends,
another.
yeah,
Yeah.
if your five closest friends are sitting on the couch eating Cheetos, watching The Bachelor,
Mm,
and living on the dole, guess what? You're not going to have a lot of incentive to
right.
do something incredible with your life.
No. No. And okay, so you have this book,
Oh yeah, I do.
Excellence, Everyday Excellence, a
Yep.
guide of how to be growing and living in that everyday excellence. Is it a novel? Is it a how-to book? What kind of book is it?
It's a daily reader, so it's really a multivitamin for life.
Hmm.
And like your multivitamin, you should take it every single day, preferably in the morning.
Hmm.
And the structure of it, it's got all 366 days for the year. Yes, I took into account leap year. And it has a quote from somebody, whether it's
Mm.
Mahatma Gandhi, Muhammad Ali, Dr. Seuss, Ellen DeGeneres, somebody. Then there's discussion and analysis around that. And it's in a lot of ways sort of like the Oracle of Delphi, because the reader will take what they're looking for,
Right.
whether it's something about their occupation, their physical health, their mental health, their relationships,
Whatever the
communication.
application is to
Right.
them in that
So
moment.
basically, they will see it through their own lens
Yes.
because of their reticular activation system. They'll find what they're looking for. But the big thing is that without doing stuff, it's just going to be all, ooh, that was nice, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. So every single day, there's an action item.
Mm.
And it might be something as simple as smiling at 5 people today, which is
Right.
still one of my favorite action items in the entire book.
And so
Or it might be something,
intoxicating and so inviting and so simple.
well, from a biochemical point of view, you're
Yes.
lowering your own cholesterol.
Mm.
You are producing oxytocin, which
Hmm.
is the happiness hormone. You become smarter
Hmm.
and more creative for the next 15 minutes or so after smiling.
Yeah.
And because of the mirror neurons in the cortex, if I smile at you, Sarah, you want to smile back. And so
Yes.
I have now given you a gift of health.
Right.
And it cost me absolutely nothing. And it took no time. And so by doing that, it's changing yourself fundamentally, but it's changing the people that you interact with for in a positive direction. And so
Raising
it's
those
little
good
micro,
vibrations.
right? And so you're now going to be slightly happier, slightly smarter, slightly more creative. It might lead to something within your work that's better
Mm.
today, or you might smile at somebody else later today that you interact with, which increases their day, and then they go on and invent a cure for
Lovely
cancer.
ripple
Or
effect. Hmm.
yes, it's the
Yeah.
butterfly effect in a positive way.
Right.
So that's like one of the easiest of the action items. The most complex ones are like, sitting down and, like, if you're angry with somebody, writing down every single reason why you're angry with them,
Hmm.
and then saying, I forgive you for X. I
Yes.
forgive you for Y. You don't have to do it with them, but you're forgiving
Yeah.
them. And so you're freeing the prisoner. You're freeing yourself from your anger at this other person. Or it might be you spend 5 minutes researching something that is important to your growth and development.
Hmm.
So by doing little things like this every single day, we are starting to bend the curve on our lives. And it's those micro decisions that then are slightly better. And we make about 10,000 micro decisions per day. And the average person has somewhere around 70,000 thoughts a day. 75+% of those thoughts are, 1, automatic, they're just reactive, and 2, negative. So if we can change a couple percent of that, that could change the day from being red to green.
Right.
And if you have a couple more green days per week, you're going to have better weeks. And it creates a feedback mechanism that bends the curve and improves people's lives, as opposed to having the natural or unnatural decay that we're having all too often.
I find that most people really do want to switch channels, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
They do want to make that choice to live positively. But a great deal, many of them go, but with the current environment the way it is, I just don't know how. So
So
having,
do one tiny little thing, one tiny little change every day.
yeah.
And if you get 1% better per week,
Hmm.
not even per day, per week,
Yes.
1% better per week, at the end of 2 years, you're 3 times as good
Right.
because of
But
that compounding effect.
yes, exactly. It is not that you have to close the door on your entire life at the present moment and go leap out into the abyss, blind, deaf, and dumb.
Yeah.
What you're doing is, okay, what can I do? What one thing can I do differently today? What one thing can I
Exactly.
do differently today? And gosh, I really like that. I'm going to keep on doing that. What other thing can I add to it tomorrow?
Or take away,
Yeah,
so, oh, I'm out shopping, I'm not going to buy the crisps
right.
this time.
Yes.
Okay, which then sets you up for a better decision when you get hungry and you're like, oh, there's no crisps, I'll eat an apple or something healthier.
Yeah, good
And
old
so it's
crunchy
those little
carrot.
things that
Yes.
change the environment. And this is actually, there have been multiple Nobel Prizes awarded in economics for behavioral economics for
Mm-hmm.
things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Nudge theory is all based upon micro changes in your environment to make better decisions. Everyday excellence is partially about making better micro decisions that then set up that environment, both internal and external, to make those slightly better choices. And what happens over time is that when you look back after 6 months, a year, you're like, wow, I'm in a much better place overall because of those tiny little things. And the individual won't even notice the small changes
The big thing
until
is
well down the road.
it's not overwhelming.
Yeah,
To make the small steps every day, just to have a different point of view every day, to be willing to open your mind to something every day, just a little bit, drop by drop by drop by drop. Next thing you know, you've got a bucket full and you didn't even notice. It's what I was saying when people go, gosh, I'm not where I wanted to be. Look where you've come from. Look how far you have
exactly.
come. You might be on a pause button right now. Maybe it's just a reflective day to look at actually how
Maybe
far you've
you're
come.
maybe you're focused on the yo-yo that's down when
Mm-hmm.
you're up 20 feet up on the escalator, is the example that we used to use from the stock market,
Mm-hmm.
because you're trending upwards. Yeah, today might not be quite as good as yesterday for whatever reason, but on the whole you're making great progress.
Yes.
Like my friends who in my over 40 fitness group, there's some people who have had some very good weight loss stories over a 6 month, 1 year period. And occasionally they get upset because they go up 2 pounds, since last week. And it's like, but look what you've done overall.
Right.
Okay. So you know what? Maybe it was just a blip on the scale, literally. Maybe it was because it was your birthday this past week
Yes.
and you had a cake. All right, you're not going to have another birthday for 51 weeks. It's not that big of a deal.
Stop sweating the small stuff.
No,
Again, when we get anxious about something, we're stifling our body. We're stifling everything else. We're telling it to panic. What happens when it panics? It kind of shuts down. So stop panicking. Don't sweat the small stuff. You feel like that piece of pizza, God's sake, have it. That means tomorrow or later on, it's going to be, a good healthy salad instead. There's
or
always
just make
balance and
other good choices
compensation.
around it.
Yes,
You're,
exactly.
you're going to have that piece of pizza. You know what? Go for a walk
Yeah,
afterwards. You go
yeah,
for a 10-minute walk afterwards, and from a biochemical point of view, you've actually completely neutralized that piece of pizza.
right. And
So
it's the attitude around things. And I think, a big word that we need to have in our vocabulary. And the first thing on our mind when we wake up in the morning is gratitude. If we can live in gratitude for what we have, for who we are, for the opportunities and the possibilities that we have, and we start looking at it like, I have a choice.
I'm awake and breathing.
Yes,
It's a good day.
exactly. Look at all the possibilities that are before me
Yeah?
today. Thank you.
As
I'm
I've
grateful.
always said, if it's not fatal, it's fixable.
Exactly.
So you know what? I didn't die yesterday. I can make today better.
Right. And that is entirely in my hands. What happens around you, or maybe sometimes what happens for you, right? Not to you, but for you, you will adjust to. The more skilled you become with navigating your own life and knowing your own parameters, the more easy it is to deal with things that would have unraveled you in the past, right?
Exactly.
And you're not
Ryan
unraveled
Holiday, the
anymore.
Stoic author,
Yeah.
has a book called The Obstacle is the Way.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going through these adversities that help develop and reveal the strengths that you're going to need down the road. Because guess what? Your parents are going to get older and die. It happens to
Yes.
all of us. Every one of us is probably going to develop some form of cancer or other horrible disease at some point in our lives. Divorces are at over 50% in the United States. We're all going to have a close friend predecease us.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to go through these things. So it is being able to get through these littler obstacles along the way that helps build up the strength the same way doing exercises with low weights allows you to lift the heavy weights down the road.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, the big thing is just take that deep breath, be present in the moment. What can you do right now? Right now in this moment? And even abstaining from a choice is a choice. So
Yep.
what is your choice in this moment? You know what? This is a little overwhelming, or I didn't want this to happen. I'm just going to take a moment, take a deep breath. Okay, what if I try this? Instead of getting overwhelmed and feeling it's coming out to get you and oh, your life is over. No, okay, this is being dealt to you. What if I try this? What can I do with it?
And that being able to slow down life
Mm.
is one of the key skills. This is one of the things that they talk about with professional athletes, is that the game slows down for them.
Yes.
So a rookie, when they go on out there, everything's moving at 1.5 times speed when they first get to the big leagues, whether it's football, baseball, soccer, what have you. It's all so fast and overwhelming. But once they calm down, it returns to normal speed. Or when they're playing really well, it seems like everything's in half speed. And that is the same mindset that we need to bring to the ordinary chaos of our lives, even though we're not in front of a stadium of 50,000 people cheering us.
It's the same thing when you're youth, you would have risen to that argument. When you get older, it's
Whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Nope.
You've had time to, nah, not worth it. Not
Exactly.
worth it. So there are benefits to getting older, folks. So, and don't feel that life is only handed to you when you're youthful. When you get older, yes, things may slow down, but if you have consistently invested in yourself and every aspect of your life, bit by bit by bit, you have built a beautiful foundation. It's never too late to start. I don't care what your age is.
There's
Right?
a Chinese saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Next best time is today.
Yes.
There's always today to improve the future.
And you're never, ever too old, and it's never, never too late to change. While you are still breathing, you are still living. Make that life what you want it to be for yourself. And that means invest, participate, and get creative in the way that you're going to interact with life. But don't sit back and wait for life to happen to you or let it pass you by. You are a part of life. Be a part of life. And as you are motivated by other people, share that motivation on. So your book, just the Everyday Excellence, of a tip a day, really, and how they take that tip, how they take that exercise and how they apply it is up to them. It's handing someone the hammer and saying, here's the wood and the nail, but where you put it and what you build out of it is up to you.
Exactly. And what happens is throughout the year, we give them a new tool every single day. So by the end of the year, they've got a fully developed toolbox
to
be able to do things. And one of the things that they can do is they can then go back through the next year with the book again, because as the Stoics say, no person can step in the same river twice, because the river is different and the person's different. So, I started writing the book over a year ago. And so I've read every single page in there multiple times. I'm going through and I read the book every single morning as part of my morning routine. And I do the homework assignments. And where I am today versus where I was last year at this point with it, very different. And so what I'm taking from my own work and applying and growing from it is different because I'm a different person now.
But the other thing, you could be on September 10th and you remember June 2nd, this was said. I kind of now understand that I could actually use this right now on September 10th.
And one of the things that we do is throughout the book, I will hit on certain concepts multiple times throughout the year. So instead of talking about something on, one day and then the next day and then the next day also, instead I will spread that out, a couple months apart, because it allows it to marinate within your brain and soul. And you'll think back, oh yeah, you mentioned something like this before, blah, blah, blah. And so it allows the germination around that to really grow into something.
Right. There's something I like to do with books like that is like, hold the book and go, what do I need to know today? And let's open it up.
And just open it randomly.
And when I open it, I swear every single time it's something that I need to know that's relevant to where I'm at today. Always.
I actually do that too.
Yeah.
Before I get on like a call like this, I will open the book to a couple of random pages and read the quotes and the action items, just to be like, okay, yeah, and so that my mind is fresh and prepped for it.
Right.
But it's that randomization of, you're looking for the pattern.
Yes.
You're looking for the insight. Here's something, and then you extract the pearl of excellence from it for that day.
Now, you're also a coach as well. So what kind of coach and what kind of programs have you got going for everyone right now?
So my programs, I have some very specific things within business where organizations will bring me in to teach some technical things around stuff. But I'd say even 50% of those and the other things I do is around developing the will set. It's developing the attitude of resilience. It's developing the patterns and habits of practice to basically unlock your excellence. Whether it's you train in the martial arts every single day, or you're practicing your language as a salesperson every single day, or you're learning to listen better, which helps you as a parent, as a communicator, as an attorney, so it is teaching these multidisciplinary skills that people can apply throughout their profession, but also their personal lives, that then allow them to become more excellent in whatever capacities they're looking for.
Excellent lies with each and every one of us. It's really who we are at the very core. Activating that excellence comes, with lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as we go. Do not expect, even if you are gifted in a certain area, you still got to know truly how to hone in that gift, what to
you
do
still have
with
to
that
work
gift.
at it.
You still got to work at it to perfect it. So life is about perfecting ourselves. And I don't mean perfection. I just mean being the very best you can be for yourself on a daily basis with, as you said, always something to look forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow I will learn this. Tomorrow I will do that. The forever growth. The oldest person I've interviewed was 92. She started her own TV show, I think at 89, took on a new lover at 80 something, and it's all about the love of life and participating in life. And if you haven't got a love of life, if you haven't got something to participate in, if you don't have a purpose, that's when you start withering up and dying. We need to be a part of something because that's what gets us up every day.
And it's that joie de vivre, that energy of life, that passion that I've seen people in their 30s who are old men.
Oh God, yes.
And I have seen, like, my own great aunts all died a little bit before their 100th birthday, and up to the point where they were 98 and a half years old, were still out there on the dance floor.
You're right. Life is an attitude of gratitude. Actually, the youngest person I interviewed was 10, and she'd written a book of 365 days of gratitude with a positive attitude. And it was simply every day, I'm grateful for this today. I did this or that happened. And, she said on the show, and it's something that's always stuck with me, I just don't understand. If you're unhappy doing something, why continue doing it? And it's like, why do we as adults stay with misery? Exactly. Why do we stay with misery as an adult when we have full capacity to change to the happy path?
It's like the dog lying there on the porch, whimpering because they're lying on a nail. but it doesn't hurt enough for them to actually get up and do something about it.
Right. Yeah. And you really don't want it to get to the point where it hurts so much you're too crippled to do something.
Unfortunately, that's what happens.
Yes.
Is they get to the point where they can no longer get up, and then it's just, not good for anybody.
Right. Now you have a podcast as well.
No, I don't have a podcast. I go on other people's podcasts.
Okay, and you share all of those.
Yeah, because I'm probably doing 2 to 3 podcasts a day.
Wow.
So
that's dedication.
I don't have time to go and edit a podcast.
No.
But I do have a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So people can just find it by searching Everyday Excellence. So it's 90 seconds to 2.5 minutes of just talking about something,
Right.
talking about, the Buddha's cows or Jim Collins' Good to Great or Miyamoto Musashi, so it's incredibly random, but it is always insightful. So it's meant to be basically like a shot of Joe in the morning. You have your little espresso and you're ready to go. You can also follow me on Twitter, and there's 6 days a week a microblog. So quick quote, quick discussion on the website everyday-excellence.com. So there's a lot of resources that I'm putting out there that people can use to help themselves on their journey without even having to purchase my book.
Wonderful. And so you have the everyday, is it -excellence.com?
Yes, ma'am.
That site. And you also have so I haven't got my glasses on, the intramachine.com?
Yes. So the intro machine is more business oriented. So that's where I'm talking about how to build an introduction based business, how to go about making sure that you don't have any goose eggs from a work point of view each day. Because if you're an entrepreneur, if you don't work, you don't eat. It's like when I was growing up on the farm. So how do you go about building structure and processes and mindset and continue to grow your business so that you can then be doing it in a very efficient and effective manner, which frees up time for your own personal excellence and so that you can serve others.
Exactly. And you just said it, serve others. When we are in service of others, we're in service of ourselves, and it brings us the greatest joy to be a solution or to bring a smile to somebody else's life. It's for me, the pure nectar in life. Now, and where do people find the book?
So the book is available on Amazon, especially over in the UK where you guys are. It's
No, I'm
easier to get
Canada.
it there. Oh, you're in Canada. I
Yeah,
thought you were in the UK. So
just British.
Canada, it's easy. You can also get through my website. So basically anywhere that you buy books online or from my website, you can find it.
Okay, wonderful. So you've got it all there. You've I think the book is a wonderful gift to give yourself, but I think a wonderful gift to give basically to a family, and just
Yeah.
make it a
So
morning
people who
thing
are
around the
graduating
breakfast.
from university
Yeah,
right now,
or high
this
school.
is one of the best gifts that they can get because they're still in that growth mode from school.
Yes.
And reading for 2 to 3 minutes a day as opposed to reading for 2 to 3 hours a day
Yeah.
is a lot easier, but they can maintain that growth curve that they've been on.
Yeah.
And that will help them in a lot of ways because they'll start studying for their professional engineering license or their certified financial planner or working on that advanced degree or taking the dance class that they always wanted to take that they never had a chance to, or the cooking class, and just continue in this growth oriented mindset.
Yeah.
For a while.
I think anybody in transition, whether somebody's changing jobs or changing careers, have got divorced, being widowed or widowed, anybody that's in that life crutch right now, he's like, I'm in limbo. I don't know where to go. This is the
Or
gift to
even the
give.
good ones. So let's
Yeah.
say that you just got engaged.
Yes. Just
You
got
and your
married.
partner sitting down and reading this book
Yeah.
and talking about it allows for a greater level of connectivity. And if there's differences in mindsets and opinions, it allows for discussion around it.
Instead
so
of
that way
argument.
you come to understanding. And it's that lack of communication that leads to most divorces.
Yes.
So we can head this off.
Yeah. Yes, and really get to listen to one another. But, I still think it's also very, very good for teenagers that are going into high school. It's a hellishly difficult time for a teenager. They're in discovery of who they are. They've got all this workload on them. They've got this enormous amount of expectation and social expectation put upon them.
Now all the social media.
Yes.
Plus they're literally just a ball of hormones. So they're trying to figure themselves out.
And so this could be a really, really good guide for them on just simply something they can digest every day, put into practice every day. And it can become a part of their building blocks into helping them navigate through the difficulties.
My 15-year-old told me the other day that, hey, Da, your book doesn't suck. So that's
validation right there.
I've gotten.
Yes. Definitely. That's the stamp of approval that you need. So basically, it's a book for everyone, anybody that can kind of, comprehend what it is you're writing, so teenage up. And we all need help. Let's face it, we all do need help. We all get ourselves into a pickle. We don't know where to turn. We don't quite know what to do. And we need that external help that just helps us hone in on the how to. We want to, but how to. And something terribly simple that allows you just to put that one foot in front of the other. We're not asking you to dance the tango straight off. It's one foot in front of the other. Gather your own rhythm. And the next thing you know, you're the one that's boogieing to your own life.
Or as Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, said, well-being is no small thing.
No.
But it's made up of little steps.
Yes.
And everyday excellence lets you take those tiny little steps to be moving in the right direction.
There's another point too. Every day can be excellent with the right attitude.
Yes, it can. Be excellent and grow today.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for sharing here today.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been my pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. And to everyone else, remember, you have to participate in life. It is that one step in front of the other. It is that optimism that life can be absolutely wonderful if you integrate into life and just take those steps. Every day excellent can make your life excellent in every way. Until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or selfdiscoverymedia/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.